You have been watching The Point. We'll take a short break, and after that, the Chinese company Huawei now has 3 more months during which it can buy components from American companies. What's the strategy behind the Trump administration's policies on Huawei? Is there a strategy at all? Stay with us. The Trump administration announced on Monday that it will allow another 90 days for U.S. companies to wrap up their business with Huawei, the Chinese telecoms giant. November 19th is now the target date when the U.S. may fully ban Huawei, which it paints as a national security threat without producing any concrete evidence so far. So how will Huawei and its U.S. partners adapt and move forward? And is it only a trade deal that can restore Huawei's relationship with U.S. businesses? Joining me for the discussion in our studios are Thomas Law, co-founder and CEO of Pingwest, and John Gong, a professor of economics at the University of International Business and Economics here in Beijing. Gentlemen, welcome to The Point. So on Monday, just as this first 90-day temporary general license for U.S. companies to continue to do business with Huawei was about to expire, U.S. Commerce Secretary Wilbur Ross confirmed that this license will be delayed another 90 days. And Ross said that the beneficiaries are going to be U.S. businesses because, quote, we are giving them a little more time to wean themselves off of Huawei before it's fully banned. And on an annual basis, Huawei does something like $11 billion purchase from American companies on parts. So how do you understand the reason that Wilbur Ross have given on the another 90-day delay of this ban, giving the U.S. companies more time to wean off businesses with Huawei?
Well, I think the American companies are complaining about it. They went to the White House with a petition that you cannot do this, you cannot cut off our business. It's a huge business. Huawei sourcing in the U.S. represents something like $10 billion. That's a lot of over $10 billion. That's a lot of money. So, so that's why the American companies, want to have these sales continue. So I think this renewal of the petition is going to be continuing. By the time of November 19th, I think they're going to grant another renewal. So. What Robert Ross was saying was actually very correct. It is to the benefit of American companies because Huawei has a plan B here. If it's entirely cut off, it's not going to shut down Huawei. It's going to continue its operation. It's going to buy things from other parts of the world, and also has its own indigenous solutions. So I think in that sense, what Wilbur Ross is doing indeed is helping with American business.
But not helping them, but not by giving them more time to wean off China.
No, it's not going to happen. I mean, Huawei is they're developing their own solutions. It's not like just Huawei is buying some time. I mean, the company has a plan B. Some of the products they're already producing themselves. There are also Chinese companies that I know of that also can produce some critical components for the phone. I think there's another issue here. That is with respect to the continued operation of the rural telecoms in the U.S. The rural telecom community is the major buyer of Huawei's equipment.
Sure.
Yeah, right. So in order to continue that operation, equipment needs to be maintained and parts and components needs to be supplied. I think the Ministry of, the Department of Commerce is doing the right thing to continue let the American companies supply parts to Huawei.
Okay, Thomas, how do you take the situation? I mean, this excuse or reasoning that Wilbur Ross provides, it's almost like giving a grace period or putting the death sentence further down the line so that you can continue to breathe for 3 more months. Exactly what are the reasons behind such?
I agree with John's opinion about that. For Huawei itself, I don't think it really needs this 90 days period and to have to postpone or just to renew this kind of this temporary license. I don't think it really need that. The fundamental reason is because I truly believe, and I think that the Huawei deal is a part of the trade deal between the U.S. and China. In case and this kind of the negotiation will continue, even it will just suffering some kind of the setback, but it will just still going to continue. In case this deal, this negotiation will continue, I think this kind of the renew and will be continue and will continue and will last after 3 months or 3 months.
So while the trade talks is kind of hanging in the air, because I'm not hearing anything about it. Are you guys hearing anything about it?
Well,
so far not, yes.
At least it's going to happen.
Yeah,
From both sides, they're saying it's going to happen.
Okay, so, but nothing much is happening. So they want to keep this bait alive.
Well, remember in the press release in the after 11th round of negotiation, what the Chinese government says that the United States government is going to create favorable conditions. Remember that, there's a favorable conditions, right? And my conjecture is that one of the favorable conditions got to be something related to Huawei, okay? So I think the announcement...
I understood it was to create favorable conditions for the purchase of agricultural
well, that means that China's going to buy agricultural products and the American side is going to create favorable conditions, right? So I suspect that one of the favorable conditions the Chinese government is referring to, didn't mention this explicitly in his press release, is probably with respect to Huawei. And the timing of this announcement from the Department of Commerce is probably a good sign that the talk in September is going to happen, and there might be some.
So should we welcome this policy or not? Because while they delays, let's say, the 90-day ban, by giving it an extra 90-day, it also took more companies onto the blacklist, onto the entity list. Basically, the weight is getting heavier. The bargaining chip is getting more substantive.
Adding more companies. These are Huawei subsidiaries operating in the U.S. They're not doing much anyway in the U.S. So, in my view, putting these companies on the entity list is not of much of a significance to Huawei because they're discontinuing already before this announcement. They're firing people already.
But once the ban is in place, more companies will be affected, right, Thomas?
Yeah, sure. I think at this kind of the end, they put more entities into the blacklist. I think it is just a gesture, or it is kind of the gesture like, okay, you see, I won't or I don't make the compromise with Huawei or with the China side. I'm still just doing these things and just considering the so-called national security. I still just put more companies and entities onto the blacklist. So it is just going parallel with the delay of the license or the delay of the ban, I think. And it is just this kind of the gesture for Trump's administration. Yeah.
How is Huawei going to react to such a situation? It seems like it's going to be a chronic problem instead of a clear-cut one. Punish me, 3 months, okay, fine, let me deal with it. But if you keep pushing it off the line, it's said that, for instance, Huawei's second quarter growth for this year only amounted to 8.3%, which is much slower than the same period last year. And also, it expects to sell 60 million fewer phones this year due to U.S. restrictions. So what does this 90-day mean for Huawei now? Well,
that means that Huawei can continue to buy some components, and some of the phones are not going to be affected. I think more critical challenge to Huawei is with respect to the operating system, because cutting off the Android system from Google, right, really affects sales in a lot of countries, because these countries' customers really rely on the applications running on this Android system. By not having this, people are not going to buy these phones. So I think that part of the sales are really going to be affected. By still keeping this thing on, I think it alleviates the situation a little bit. But also I think we have to keep in mind that phone sales is slowing down anyway because of the macroeconomic situation. Other handset manufacturers here in China are already seeing slowed sales, or at least slowed increase in sales. So I think 8% in this kind of environment in 2019 is not bad, actually. It's not bad. Yeah,
just comparatively speaking,
slower.
Right.
It's not bad.
How is Huawei going to prepare itself for the worst? I mean, although at this moment it can continue to breathe, but eventually it has woken up that there is no free meal. You have to find your own system. So how is Huawei? How is this propelling Huawei to develop its own systems?
Okay, sure. Just first I want to give a fact is about that. Just Huawei is a company which is really powerful, or which is really active at operation, and its operation is really great. I mean that just you see, I mean just the revenue growth, and in the second quarter, just to make a little bit, just like I mean the growth just make a little bit shrink comparing with last year. But I just talked with one of the Huawei's executive a couple of weeks ago in Dongguan in Guangdong at their developer conference, and they told me, okay, just I mean just in the third quarter, they may just achieve a recovery in terms of their phone shipment, just to make a recovery. I mean, the volume of the shipment will return to the volume before the ban. I think, and just I mean, which means it takes just only a quarter just to make the recovery. So
it's a temporary hiccup, basically.
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
They can do it pretty well, but for the operating system, I think just it takes a longer time.
Yeah.
Now, currently, and they launched the operating system, it has been applicated on their TV platform.
I see.
But and they call it, they claim this is just the Hongmeng, and now they call it Harmony. Yeah, right. Sure. It's a cross-platform operating system.
Right.
So it should take several months then to be adopted on the mobile platform.
So that means Huawei is going to recover really fast from this ban that the U.S. imposed on the Android system.
Yeah, it's a good thing, but I think it's a temporary thing, because and they can just use other methods just to in a short term just to return back, just like to sell some old version phones or this sort of things.
If Android is entirely cut off, my guess is going to take a little bit longer time to fully recover, because you know the development. I mean, this is really about development of applications for the Harmony system. It's going to take some time for the developers to come up with systems, and take some time for the consumers to adopt these applications, to build up critical mass, and then to be a fully replacement for Android. So that's not going to happen overnight. It's going to take some time.
Well, but definitely the United States has helped Huawei grow.
Probably, yeah.
Probably? Okay, let's wait and see. Many thanks to my two guests, John Gong and Thomas Law. And with that, we come to the end of this edition of The Point with me, Liu Xin. As always, you can follow me on Facebook and Twitter using the handle The Point with LX. Download the application called CGTN to watch the show on your mobile devices, or go to YouTube and look for CGTN The Point. Thanks for watching. You've got the point.